Congratulations. Hey, PK, what's up with God's country? All the cups are in the U.S. Congratulations to the Florida Panthers who made franchise history last night. Yeah, step your game up, boy. While avoiding sports mockery with a 2-1 Game 7 win, the Panthers captured their first Stanley Cup in franchise history. Meanwhile, the Edmonton Oilers fell just short of completing a historic comeback after trailing 3-0 in the series. Connor McDavid couldn't bring the Stanley Cup back to Canada, but he did win the Conn Smythe Award given to the MVP of the playoffs. He's the 6th player to win for a losing team and the first since 2003. Okay, here's the deal. Let me set the rules here. Before we get into the debate, PK, I need you to break this down for us. What happened last night for my pick of Florida winning to be right?
Well, I said it yesterday. I said it all day yesterday of why I had the confidence in the Florida Panthers getting it done. Because when they get back to their identity, they built a culture there in Florida that revolves around defense. When they brought in Matthew Tkachuk and traded him for Jonathan Huberdeau, they adopted that same mentality, dog on a bone, ground and pound style, and they just got away from that the latter part of this series. So I knew for them, if they were going to win, they had to get back to their identity, which was defense first. And when we're talking about defense and we're talking about the Florida Panthers, we have to talk about their best defensive player, and that was Sergei Bobrovsky. He was their best defensive player last year when they made it to the Stanley Cup final, and he was the best defensive player for them this year. And when it came down to it, when he played his best in the Stanley Cup final, they won. He was at his best last night, and they won. But make no doubt about it, the Florida Panthers locked it down from start to finish yesterday.
All right. PK, we need to get you some tea with honey. Someone needs to get some sleep so you can rest your voice for a second. Stephen A., I'm coming to you. So as I mentioned, listen, that's what the road does to you. Connor McDavid won the Conn Smythe Trophy. SA, do you have a problem with that?
Initially, I thought I was, because my ignorant self was thinking I was, regardless of knowing that it's a performance throughout the postseason, I was just so down on his performance last night that I was just thinking, damn, that this ain't the time for that. But I understand that he deserves it. I know how great he is. I know how phenomenal he is. PK has taught me that. He's been telling me that for the last couple of years or so, all right, and trying to get me to love hockey. PK, I had a phenomenal time last night. I really enjoyed it. It was a spectacular game, make no mistake about it. But we can't argue with the fact that he deserves the award when you consider how big time he was with the points that he was scoring, with the assists that he was scoring, what he did in games 4 and 5. Now, obviously, you'd say he could have done more in games 6 and 7, specifically game 7 for me. I'm just looking at him last night. 0 points, 0 assists on a total of 2 shots on goal. I just expected more from him in a game 7, considering the greatness that we know he is, that he possesses. When they call you McJesus, that's what they say, Connor McJesus, and PK himself has called him that. It's a game 7, and Shannon, PK, you guys know this a hell of a lot better than me. No matter how great you are, because nobody could ever dispute this guy's greatness or anything like that, moments are what it's all about. When we talk about a Hall of Famer and we talk about the truly, truly great ones, and we talk about them being in a special room, yes, your talent and your talent is one thing, but ultimately is what you accomplish when the moments call for you to accomplish those things that we ultimately utilize to define who you are compared to everybody else. McDavid might be a different avenue because we know that he's amongst the all-time greats, but he is still devoid of a Stanley Cup. He still hasn't won it. He's 0-4 now. And when that happens and you've got a game 7 after overcoming a 3-0 lead, and then you're tied up 3-3 and it's a game 7, and then that's the night you choose to be basically neutralized, that's not a great look. It doesn't take away from his greatness overall, but it was, and I'm certainly not going to dispute the fact that he deserved the Conn Smythe Award, the trophy rather, but I'm just saying, damn, I just wish he had showed up and had been more prolific last night.
It's not like basketball, Stephen A., that has happened once. Jerry West won the inaugural award in 1969. We saw it happen in football when Chuck Howley won the award when they lost to the Colts. It's happened one time in baseball in the 1960 World Series, the guy from the Yankees. He won it. But because it's happened 6 times, and John Sebastian Jaguar getting jiggy with it, I remember him for the Anaheim Ducks. Yeah, because it's happened so many times, no, I'm not surprised at all. And as you said, Stephen A., it's for the totality of the playoffs. And if you look at the totality of the playoffs, yeah, he's been outstanding. But damn, shouldn't it be a more emphasis on winning? Shouldn't you? I mean, if you look at it, they got the goalie from Florida. He's been just as impressive, and he stood on his head again last night because the goals that we're getting. The goals that we're getting through 4, 5, and 6 that allowed it to get to a Game 7, he closed the door. I mean, he had a couple of saves right there that could have swung the momentum into Edmonton's favor. But he was sensational last night. He got to get this award. I understand that he gave us some cheapies, games 4, 5, and 6. But when they absolutely had to have it throughout the totality of the playoffs, he was standing on his head in net. He deserved that award. But am I surprised that Connor McDavid? No. He's the best player. He's universally regarded as the best player. And he did have an outstanding playoffs. But he didn't deserve that award, man. You can't be giving out awards. Oh, he played great. Well, he didn't play great enough for his team to win.
Take it from the Hall of Famer. PK?
Great points, but it's simple for me. It's not his time. As great as he was, I picked Florida from the very beginning. I picked Florida in 6 games. There's a reason for that. Connor McDavid, as amazing as he is, I've been calling him McJesus all year. Hockey is the ultimate team sport. Sidney Crosby, before he won his first one, had to lose in the finals. Had to watch him do it. Wayne Gretzky walked by the New York Islanders locker room, saw them all after they won those championships, all battered and bruised. Hockey is like no other sport. One man cannot do it all by himself. And as amazing as Connor McDavid was, for them to be down 3-0 in this series and drag them back into it, that's why we're talking about immortality. That's why we're talking about him in the category with all-time greats. This series should have been over a long time ago. It wasn't over because of Connor McDavid and his leadership. And I think for him, he's shown tremendous growth. The experience that he got over this playoffs and Stanley Cup final is going to pay off down the road. But it's not his time. The Florida Panthers, best defensive team the past 2 years, Stephen A. Went to the Stanley Cup final last year, lost, right? Short off season, 9 new players. 8 guys on that team did not play in the Stanley Cup final last year. They've come a long way. New coach, right? They made a big trade to bring in Matthew Tkachuk, changed the whole culture of the team. They earned this. This was Florida's Stanley Cup. It wasn't Connor McDavid's for me.
Okay.
The Edmonton Oilers, for me, isn't a good enough team to beat the Florida Panthers. Florida Panthers were a better team, and it showed yesterday.
PK, a statement and then a question for both you and Shannon. My statement is this: I want to take an opportunity to give props to the coach Paul Maurice. So obviously, the guy's 5-0 in Game 7s. It took him 26 years to win a Stanley Cup, Stanley Cup, and we get that. But when you're 5-0 in Game 7s, that says something to me about your coaching ability. So I want to give him some props as well. Here's my question to you, PK, based off of what Shannon was throwing out there. I'm coming to you, and because I want Shannon to comment about this as well. In 3 wins, 3 goals, 5 assists, 8 points. In 4 losses, 0 points, 3 assists for just 3 points. You talked about what Connor McDavid brings to the table. They averaged 6. What was it? 6 points per game. Games 3, 4, 5, and 6, and then you only score 1 yesterday, right? So I'm saying this. Okay. It's a Game 7. We got Bobrovsky, 23 or 24 shots on goal. This man stopped. Okay, I'm looking at him based off of what Shannon is saying, and I'm asking you. Yeah, it's a team sport, but considering what you've said about Connor McDavid and what he brings to the table, what do you say about the fact that the Game 7 was the game that he chose not to get it done like that? How do you answer Shannon when he brings that up? Because that's really what this comes down to, right?
Yeah, and listen, all fairness, Florida shut him down yesterday. They swarmed him. There was no time and space. And all that time and space that he had the last 3 games of the series, it was all gone. It was all gone. Florida brought back their defensive game. They got to their game early and often, and they were hard on them. And they made huge defensive plays. In a Game 7, the reason why it was an easy pick for me, defense wins championships. It don't matter who you are. The best defensive teams always get it done, especially in hockey. And for me, if I'm a player going into a Game 7, I want to be on the better defensive team. And it starts with Sergei Bobrovsky. So Sergei Bobrovsky definitely definitely deserving. 2 Vezina trophies. He won the Vezina, his first Vezina in 2013. That was the year I won the Norris. I remember that year specifically and how great he was. To me, he's got to be in the Hall of Fame category now because this guy, you saw what happened to the Florida Panthers the moment this guy got a little bit tired and exhausted from how long and grueling. And that's another thing, Stephen A. How taxing it is to be in the Stanley Cup final after 82-game series, grinding through this play. You could see with Connor McDavid, he was gassed by the end of it. I mean, he played half of the third period. He didn't leave the ice. So as much as I want to look at him and say, he's got to produce more, you're playing the best defensive team in the league. You can't do it all by yourself. Leon Draisaitl, his running mate, was not good enough in this Stanley Cup final. Their depth players went dry in this game. You're going to need more. He cannot do it all by himself. So for me, this wasn't his cup to win. I'm fine with him getting the Conn Smythe. If you're breaking Wayne Gretzky's record, 42 points, I mean, it was by a mile. He was the best player in the Stanley Cup playoffs. But, you know, I share a little bit of what Shannon says. I'm a little bit old school that way. I think that the Conn Smythe Trophy winner should be from the Stanley Cup champion. Yes. And if it was, it would be Sergei Bobrovsky, no doubt.
Okay.
PK, if I'm out in the ocean and I'm 50 feet out, and I'm drowning, and you throw me a 48-foot rope, what the hell have you done? So you don't do me any good. You don't, Stephen A. He does me no good to get to a Game 7 if he leaves me high and dry. What have you done for me? Bobrovsky should have won that Conn Smythe Award because he stood on his head when he absolutely had to. And the way we judge a PK, moments. In a moment, when I absolutely have to have it, whether I'm playing football, basketball, whatever, can I get done what I absolutely have to get done when I absolutely have to? And when he needed to stand on his head in net, he did it. And when Connor McDavid, the best player in hockey, he's universally regarded as that. There's no doubting that. When they needed him to be at his absolute best, he was at his absolute worst. The goalie from the Florida Panthers deserved that award. The Conn Smythe should go, and I get it. It's happened. Ron Hextall won it. There are several guys that have won that award from losing teams. And because it's happened 6 other times, I'm not surprised. But there has to be a premium placed on winning. And I think in this situation it wasn't. I think they gave it to him because, he had these great playoff run and yada, yada, yada. But when they needed it, it didn't happen.
All right, let me throw this out before we get out of here, all right? 11 points in the Stanley Cup final, 2 points shy of tying the Stanley Cup final record held by Wayne Gretzky with 13 in 1988. That's number one. Number two, Connor McDavid's 42 points, 8 goals, a single postseason record, 34 assists, by the way, are the fourth most in the single postseason in NHL history, behind only Wayne Gretzky's 47 in 1985, his 43 in 1988, and Mario Lemieux's 44 in 1991. So those are the numbers. When people look at Connor McDavid, they're looking at it that way. To me, PK, and I'll give you the last word on this, and I'll say this to you too, Shannon, I still think that there should have been something separate, like the Stanley Cup. You know what I'm saying? I mean, the whole overall playoff award, yeah, but we don't really care about that at that point. No. When the Stanley Cup arrives, when the Stanley Cup Finals arrives, look, that's what we cared about. What did you do in this particular series? So to have Gary Bettman out there basically saying this man won the award because of his overall performance throughout the playoffs on a night that they lost a Game 7 in a 2-1 thriller to the Florida Panthers, it just left a bad taste in my mouth. Not that I felt that he was undeserving. It just kind of left that taste in my mouth. And oh, by the way, PK, far be it for me, the hockey novice, because you know me, I say it all the time, Shannon. Only thing I know about hockey is that the puck is black, and P.K Subban is a brother calling the games, doing color commentary. So all I know, I'm learning as we go along. But I will say this. There did appear to be a lack of urgency on the part of Edmonton in the last couple of minutes. I just thought that they could have been a bit more aggressive. I'm looking at them. I'm like, the clock's ticking. You got to go after. I'm just looking at them like, damn. And there was some level of aggression that I thought that they should have had in the last minute and a half to 2 minutes. That's just me with my novice observing eyes.
So Sass, if you look back at that third period, when Connor McDavid has that puck in front of the net and makes a move on Sergei Bobrovsky and has a wide open net, and Gustav Forsling, who probably nobody knows about, who shut down all the top players in the NHL this year in this postseason, puts his stick down, and Connor McDavid does not tap that puck into the empty net. I mean, we're probably talking about something else. That's how close it was. So Connor McDavid, it's not like he was a complete no-show yesterday. He had an opportunity to tie that game up late, and it just didn't go for him, right? Something that has gone for him his whole career. And you know, that's part of learning how to be a winner. I think that we have to look at this guy and understand that he hasn't played on any Stanley Cup team since he's been in the NHL. The onus also has to be on the team to put the right team around him. I'm not making excuses for Connor at all. He's got to go out and do his job. Could he have had a better Game 7? Hell yeah, he could have had a better Game 7. But I know hockey, and I know that he wasn't winning that game yesterday because Florida was the better team.
Yeah.
Hey, Shannon.
Hey, you know what?
Period, end of story.
Yes.
Yes, Shannon, just so you know, just as an aside, Shannon, 30th season, they finally win a Stanley Cup. The Miami Heat, they've won a couple of titles, 3 titles actually. The Miami Marlins, they've won a title.
Get 2.
It's
No one
only
wants
the
to
Miami
hear about-
Dolphins.
Yeah, Miami
No, it's
for me.
only the Miami Dolphins who have not won since 1973.
We know.
I'm just saying.
We're aware of what's happening in Miami, Stephen A. It's cool.
PK,
We're happy here in New York City.
Molly, before
Yeah.
we get out here on this,
I got a question
you
for
mentioned,
PK too. Go ahead.
PK, you mentioned that when McDavid had that puck on his stick and the defenseman got his stick on there, if that's Lemieux, if that's Sid Crosby,
Gretzky.
if that's Gretzky. Is that puck in the net?
Ooh.
So yesterday I said that Connor McDavid had a chance at immortality. I have to put that in perspective for people because I think that people didn't understand what I was saying. Being down 3-0 in the Stanley Cup final, coming back from 3-0, a 3-0 deficit, and winning in the Stanley Cup final and winning a Stanley Cup puts you in that category. He did not do that yesterday. He had an opportunity to do it. He didn't. I don't put him ahead of Sidney Crosby. I don't put him ahead of Wayne Gretzky. I don't put him ahead of Mario Lemieux.
Yeah.
Connor McDavid is the best engineered hockey player ever. We've never seen a hockey player with the skill set that he has. But you know this. You got to win. You got to win. In order to be above those guys, you got to win. Sidney Crosby, 3 Stanley Cups, took the ring right off my finger in 2016. That guy's a winner. You're damn right. He gets an opportunity like that, he's putting it in the back of the net. So Connor McDavid's going to have his opportunity at the Cup, but we have to still recognize his greatness, and that's why I'm not upset at him getting the Conn Smythe. I would have preferred for Bobrovsky to get it, but very deserving for Connor.
Yeah, we might want to relax with invoking Jesus into the nickname, but that's for another story. You might want to close the deal on the Game 7, or at least heal some folks.
Hey,
PK,
Molly, he still walks on water. It's just frozen. It's just frozen water.
Yeah, that was smooth by you.